And over coming hours this evening, our time, the King will address both houses of Britain's Parliament. For more, I'm joined by Professor David Flint, the National Convener of Australians for a Constitutional Monarchy. Professor Flint, thanks for your time. What should we expect from King Charles this evening?
I think we will again hear a well-crafted, beautifully crafted speech in which will be presented very well, and I suspect that it will include Shakespeare. It was wonderful, the speech that he gave immediately after the demise of the Queen, in which he quoted those wonderful words from Hamlet, "May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest." And he spoke it beautifully, and he expressed precisely the right feelings, particularly that he would rule according to principles of constitutional government, and that the charities and issues which had so consumed him in the past will be for others, and he will concentrate on the constitutional government of the United Kingdom and of the realms.
Professor Flint, he has been involved already in terms of the parliamentary requirements for the sovereign, hasn't he, with the Queen having him step in from time to time in recent years?
Yes, that's very true. And I was listening to a commentator who said that he suspected that sometimes the Queen did that, feeling not so well, but did it so that people would be more accustomed to seeing him in the opening of Parliament, in the conferring of honours and knighthoods and the like. And perhaps there was some truth in that, but he certainly, I remember on immediately after his first speech, I spoke to a business lady who had not highly regarded him in the past, and she said she had been overwhelmed that he spoke like a king, he looked like a king, and he behaved like a king. And he is formidable, and you can see that in the reaction of the crowds who've come to see him, their spontaneous rendition of God Save the King, and the way in which he has received them. And I think there's a great element of genuineness in what he is doing. He's a very sincere man. He may sometimes do things or say things with which we disagree, but I think those days are in the past, and now he will hold to the principles, and he will, as he said, for those years that God will grant him, he will continue the work that his mother had been so involved in, that is, service to the people of the United Kingdom and of the various realms, including Australia, and governing in accordance with the principles of constitutional government.
His mother was able to have an incredibly steady 70 years as monarch. Incredible, that tenure, the longest reign of any monarch in British history, and to be above the fray, the political fray, and not to engage in any of that so well for so long. The royal family has had its difficulties, though, of course, recently with Harry and Meghan and so on. Were you encouraged by the fact that the two princes, the sons of the king, did have that show of unity in the wake of their grandmother's death?
That was very nice to see, and I do hope it continues. We know where the problem is. That's been well revealed in various reports. And let's hope that that is in the past, and that we will see normal behaviour between the princes, and that we will not see something foolish written or said about the royal family in the future.
How important is the ceremony around all of this? We've seen a lot of it already. There'll be more to come, but with the Accession Council at St James's Palace in London and the address tonight to the Parliament, there is a lot of procedure around something that has already effectively happened with the death of the Queen. Prince Charles became King Charles.
Well, this is all drenched in history, and history has a great meaning, particularly in a constitutional system which has evolved. It hasn't been written by some academic, some extremist sitting in an attic and deciding this is what must be imposed on a nation. This has been tested by trial and error, and that is how the constitutional monarchy, in its present form, which really only dates from shortly before the grant of self-government to the Australian colonies in the middle of the 19th century. But this system of constitutional government is probably one of the best in the world. It was copied in a number of countries. A number of Arab countries, for example, copied it for some time. I remember riding in a taxi and speaking to the driver who was an Afghan, and I asked him about the history of Afghanistan. He referred back to what he referred to as the golden period of Afghanistani history when they had a constitutional monarch in King Mohammed. And he said everything was fine then, the economy worked, women were liberated, it was a civilized situation, not like it is now. And constitutional monarchy is a very fine form of government, and I think it has the edge on the American system, where it's very good if you get an excellent president, but if you get a mundane president, or a president who is working really against the interests of the country, he is locked in and very difficult to remove, and you're there stuck with him for 4 years. Our system is much more subtle, allows changes of government, but there's a wonderful continuity in the Crown, because the Crown provides leadership above politics, and the Crown is also there as a constitutional guardian to make the system work. I think there's a wonderful saying about the Crown, and that is that the Crown is important not for the power it wields, but for the power that it denies others. And this is the important thing, the power that it denies others. You have to go and ask. For example, if you look at, for example, the last double dissolution of the federal parliament, you'll see an exchange of letters between the Prime Minister and the Governor-General, Sir Peter Cosgrove, and you'll see there Sir Peter imposing conditions requiring, for example, that there can be no election unless there is an urgent grant, a temporary grant of supply, so that the government goes on until the next government is returned.
Professor David Flint, thank you for your insights as always, National Convener of Australians for Constitutional Monarchy. David Flint, thank you.
Thank you.